Hey guys, and welcome to the first edition of Souls Weekly. So, what I'm going to do, give you the elevator pitch right now, is this is the first episode of something I'm trying. We'll see if it sticks around or not based off of what you guys think, as I definitely want your opinions. But this is something I thought would be fun to do as a weekly, or as weekly as I can make it show. So, my idea is that first we're going to talk about some news stories. It's going to be either From Software news, so things that From Software is doing, and then Souls-like news, so news about games that are sort of Souls-like Nioh and Salt and Sanctuary and games like that. And then I'll probably also talk about one or two news stories that I'm personally interested in revolving around gaming that aren't specifically set to that, as I have other interests than just Souls, and I'm sure that you guys do too. The next thing I'm going to be doing is community spotlights, which are going to be videos or art or music or what have you from people in the Souls community that should be highlighted regardless of if it has a lot of views or hardly any views or whatever in between. Just some good things that should get highlighted that maybe didn't get as much attention as they should or should get even more attention. And I'll probably also go over one or two things as well on top of that that aren't just Souls, but it's definitely a way that hopefully I can highlight things that you guys are also doing, because there's some amazing videos that unfortunately, and music and art and such, that just don't get the views that it deserves, and hopefully it's a way to highlight that. If you would like to submit something, go ahead and do it to this email address right here, be it your own video or creation or something someone else has made. I'll probably go with something more relevant, and also, if it's a Let's Play or a basic PvP video, it's going to have to be God tier good, because there are just so many of those. And then the final thing that I'm going to be doing is going over an interview with someone in the Souls community, and I'll probably have it in the description or something like that. So I definitely want your thoughts, positive or negative. Let me know if you guys like the format and the structuring, or if you guys want something different. This is definitely going to be an evolving show. Maybe more Souls will happen, maybe less Souls structure, depending on what you guys think over time. And hopefully it's a way for me guys to keep in touch with you also on a different way, on a weekly basis. So let's go ahead and get started. The first bit of news comes from PAX East. So PAX East is taking place next week, and Dark Souls 3, the Ring City DLC, will actually be at PAX East from Bandai Namco, and you will have a chance to check it out and play it early. Unfortunately, I won't be there. Initially, it looked like I might be going to PAX East, and now that's not happening, which is fine with me, because it's kind of, I live in Los Angeles, and Boston, that is a long plane ride, and I'm kind of working on trying to finish up my Nioh Super Show right now, so I'm like, cool, whatever, I got more time to work on my Nioh Super Show. But the Ring City will be there, and that's definitely something I want to highlight for anybody who might happen to be at PAX East. Also, for those of you who are trying to avoid spoilers of the Ring City, you might want to avoid the internet as soon as that happens, as I'm sure people will be talking and discussing about the Ring City DLC. The Ring City DLC comes out March 28th, 2017, and for anyone who's missed it, you can check out a trailer or the gameplay trailer from Bandai Namco here. And also, you can go ahead and check out some great breakdowns of the trailer from VaatiVidya, Paragon DS, or the Ashen Hollow. If that's something that you're into, I recommend checking it out. If not, and you want to go into it a little bit more blind like I'm trying to do, then go ahead and do that. However, I want to make sure that you guys have those resources at your disposal. Nioh, the most recent Souls-like games, I mean, there was Lords of the Fallen in the past, there's been Salt and Sanctuary, but this is the newest iteration of the Souls-like titles, has gotten an 87% at this time on Metacritic. There are a lot of mixed reviews from what I've been seeing about Nioh, and for those of you who haven't checked it out, it is a PS4 exclusive, so I'm sorry if you don't have a PS4. It kind of seems to be the system if you're a Souls fan to have, because Bloodborne was a PS4 exclusive and now Nioh's a PS4 exclusive. But regardless, it is at an 87%, and it's actually pretty mixed from what I've seen. So one of the YouTube channels that I really like and enjoy is Pre-Recorded, and they didn't like it that much. They thought it was too similar to Souls, but then the ways it deviated, it was too different and not as good. You had Yahtzee of Zero Punctuation, who thought the level designs were crap. Personally, I actually really disagree with that, but he thought the level designs weren't very good, and he kind of just thought it was an alright game from what it seemed like to me. Not bad, not great, just, you know, alright. Then you had Jimquisition and Jim Sterling, who gave it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10! Thought the game was amazing, and it really does seem pretty mixed. And if you are a Souls fan, I do recommend checking it out, but I'd also, if you are a Souls fan, which I'm assuming you are if you're watching this, I would recommend checking out a reviewer that you trust. because it seems like the opinions are mostly positive, but still pretty varied. For my own personal opinion, as I've finished the game at this point, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It is definitely very Souls-like and Souls-inspired, as Team Ninja has said it was. They specifically actually, if you check out and look it up, Team Ninja said that part of the reason that the game was actually able to be made was because of the success of Dark Souls, because Ninja Gaiden, and for those of you who don't know the history of this, Ninja Gaiden was by Team Ninja, and that was a notoriously difficult game before Dark Souls. And because Dark Souls was successful for being a difficult game, or a challenging game at least, that's actually what allowed them to have the green light to make Nioh in the way they did and make it a challenging game. So for me, I think that's pretty cool. And also, Team Ninja's already made Ninja Gaiden and did a good job of making a difficult style game. So you can definitely feel Ninja Gaiden infused in infused in the Souls elements, in my opinion. And that's what I like about it. I feel like it's very Souls-like and similar, but it's different enough to feel like its own unique thing, which I like. I like the level design. I thought the level design was really well done. It's a lot of windy paths that go into themselves and a lot of mix of verticality and horizontal level design. And I thought the combat was different with its various stances. I would highly recommend it myself. But like I said, definitely check out a reviewer that you trust and what they said about it. And on top of that, Nioh has just hit 1 million sales this week, which for a brand new IP is actually really good. So they're excited about that, and they actually gave out a little special thing for it. So 1 million sales, 87% on Metacritic, it is doing good. I don't know if it made up for its cost though, and that's really the question, something I want to research and check out, because Nioh took 13 years of development time. We're talking a longer development time than Final Fantasy 15, and something I'm going to touch a little bit on in my super show to kind of talk about the elements and how it did that and why. But basically, they tried to make Nioh 2 different times and completely scrapped it. And then they finally had Team Ninja take over, and that's the final version that we see today. For those of you who don't know, I am actually a huge Nintendo fanboy. It's something I don't talk about on my channel too much, outside of some of my super shows, for kind of obvious reasons, given what you guys might know about Nintendo and them, at least Nintendo of Japan, not being too keen on YouTubers. Nintendo of America is actually totally cool with them, it's specifically Nintendo of Japan. But I am a huge Nintendo fanboy, so for me, the Nintendo Switch has been big news. And the Nintendo Switch at the moment is getting pretty mediocre reviews from various websites. And Zelda Breath of the Wild is getting amazing reviews. It's at, I believe, a 98% on Metacritic. A lot of hundreds, 95s, really, really high reviews for Breath of the Wild. Again, you can get that on the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch, so it doesn't have to just be a Switch title. I'm part of the minority, I feel like, who actually love the Wii U. There are a lot of games on it for me that I really enjoyed. Basically, every big game that came out on the Wii U was one that I was excited about, be it Mario Maker, be it Donkey Kong Country Returns, be it Nintendo Land, which I thought was fantastic and one of the beginning games. It's all stuff that I really enjoyed, so Nintendo always does a good job of just making things that are fun to me. I really don't care about if it looks dark and gritty or if it's lighthearted or whatever, as long as it's a fun, good game, and I feel like they are kings of that. And maybe it's a lot of bias because I grew up in Nintendo, maybe, but I try to separate that, and I still have tons of fun with them. And when I first bought the Wii U, I bought it like 6 months after its release, something like that. Actually after a breakup, to kind of make me feel good, and it did. It made me feel really good. I was really happy, so I'm looking forward to the Nintendo Switch. So as far as the Nintendo Switch is concerned, and the reason that's getting mediocre reviews is because apparently the left Joy-Con, as there are the 2 Joy-Cons on the side and then the middle screen area, the left Joy-Con apparently has syncing issues, and this has happened for multiple websites that I checked, be it Wired or IGN.com or more. Apparently a lot of reviewers are having issues with the left Joy-Con not syncing properly. Now you can fix that by getting a Pro Controller if you're playing something like Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is going to cost you 70 bucks. I think it's way overpriced. And actually, that's kind of my issue with the Switch, is I feel like a lot of things are overpriced. I actually had a chance to play the Nintendo Switch at PAX South this year, and I really enjoyed it. Even games like 1-2 Switch, which I played. I played 1-2 Switch, I played Bomberman, I played ARMS, and I played Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I enjoyed my time with all of them. Although Bomberman, I say, was kind of just like what you played before. I think it's nice to have it again since it's been a long time, but it didn't feel like anything too special. Although I like Bomberman. I'm not trying to hate on it. I like the game. It's just, like I said, it feels like something I've played before, but I guess if you play it, it's one of those games that's great is with multiplayer with friends, and that's what I'm hoping to really do, is something like that. But regardless, you know, even though I enjoyed my time playing everything, I thought ARMS was good, I thought 1-2 Switch was fun, although it really should be a title that comes with the console. I think that was a huge blunder on Nintendo's part. The pricing is the one thing that I think will be an issue for a lot of people. That said, I'm looking forward to it. I am worried about the Joy-Con, the left hand syncing issue. I imagine that's something that either an update will fix or a recall or something like that, if it really is a mass issue, which it seems like from reviewers it is. But it's something that I wanted to talk about because I'm looking forward to it. And by the time I post this video, I might actually have my Nintendo Switch already because I pre-ordered it. Yeah, so the first community spotlight comes recommended from Abyss Song and Jeremy Greer, and that being Nioh Loki's channel, and specifically for this week, Born in Blood 1, The Dream. It's a little reminiscent of Sunlight Maggot, for those of you who remember, which is very, very cinematic. Nioh Loki has been creating cinematic videos around the Soulsborne series, and Nioh Loki's latest being about the Hunter's Dream in Bloodborne. He does crazy, crazy visual effects to create a foreboding atmosphere, and makes a lot of, I'd say, really unique videos beyond just the foreboding atmosphere and the cinematic ones. So it's definitely a channel that I would recommend, because if you like things that are a little more out there or cinematic, it just might be your thing. Stef Tastan, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, has been working on a set of Soulsborne-style tarot cards, and they are absolutely sick. This week, she just finished the Wheel of Fortune card, which features multiple iterations of patches and more. At the time of me making this video, 11 tarot cards are complete, with more on their way. It's a really cool idea and something I personally haven't seen before, so definitely check her out. All the links for everything I'm talking about are in the description below. My personal favorites are the Chariot, the Fool, and the Empress, because, well, you know, Guinevere is bae. And finally, for something a little different from Souls. For those of you who enjoy Berserk such as myself, you know it was a huge inspiration for Dark Souls. And a channel that's been doing a great job with Berserk coverage I recommend you check out is ZeGodHand. He does a great job of talking about general Berserk questions and mysteries, has discussion-based videos as well as plenty of comedic videos centered around Berserk. So definitely a channel I'd recommend. And if you haven't read Berserk, get on that. What are you doing? For every spotlight I've talked about, make sure to check out the description below for the links. But now I've got a special interview for you guys with none other than a German spy. I'm here today with none other than Franz. You may know him better as a German spy, and Franz, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Who's that? Where am I? How did I get here? I was told I was going to be offered tea.
Yeah, oh, funny thing that you mentioned tea. We'll get to that.
Okay, I didn't realize you had that prepared as an interview question.
Oh, please. Oh, please. If I'm talking to you, tea is the most important thing. So, I guess the first thing that I wanted to bring up was that I've always thought of you as one of the OG Souls uploaders. You were doing this before it was the cool thing to do. And I guess what I'm wondering is what inspired you specifically to upload videos about Souls, and how did you get started with it?
Well, it's funny that you consider me to be one of the OG Souls community members, because what inspired me were basically the people who were doing it before I was. I can't claim to be one of the originators of this this type of content, but my influences were guys like Marcus, girls like Qualag, and I know that you've mentioned her, Rachel, quite a few times in some of your other videos. She was a big inspiration for me as well, particularly with her focus on lore. And Marcus focused on lore quite a bit in the beginning as well, but he gradually changed the style of his content to something a little bit closer to what we now know as Let's Plays. And that really struck a chord with me. And I thought, wow, it sure is a lot of fun just listening to somebody casually share their thoughts as they play through a game. It's almost like being in the same room as somebody and playing video games together. And I just found that to be a lot of fun, and I thought, well, maybe I'd like to try my hand at it and see if I'm actually any good at it. And, you know, I don't think I'm that good at it, but it's fun.
No, you're great. Actually, I guess the funny thing, too, is when I think about why I think of you as an OG is I'm like, he was before my time, so he must be OG. Because, well, I guess, like, I kind of lump you in as the same category as, like, around Marcus and Qualag, and I didn't realize you were that much after, because I kind of think of you three as being, like, earlier, even earlier than like Vadi, and Vadi started kind of like after you, but before I started. So,
well, you have
I guess
to remember we're dealing with a fairly short timeline here, though. I mean, the Souls community as such didn't really begin in the West until 2009, really, I think, when Demon's Souls first came out. And even then, it took some time. In the beginning, it was just a collection of people on GameFAQs and a few other scattered forums who enjoyed the game and found common ground. It didn't really become unified in any capacity until late Demon's Souls, maybe Dark Souls 1. And, that was 2009, 2010. So when you say before my time, that sounds like 50 years ago back in Nam,
It was 50 years ago back in Nam. So, I kind of wanted to start with this thing too. I really wanted to preface the whole thing with a question like this, just to give you a false sense of security.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to sandbag that.
No, it's fine. I mean, the point was that, the real questions are starting now. That was kind of just like a false sense of security. You're like, oh, okay, these are going to be real questions now.
No, that's fine. Lock and load, Dave. I'm ready for whatever you've got to throw at me.
So, my main
before the next question, ask me to violate NDA.
No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. So can you violate NDA for me and tell me every secret? Can you tell me like all the things that you're not allowed to tell us from every guide you've worked on?
Why, sure. Let me just leak all of that privileged information.
That'd be nice.
I'm sure nothing bad will happen.
I appreciate it. Don't worry, no one's listening. This is a pilot show, so nobody's even listening.
Oh, right, okay.
So I think my real question is if your channel was actually a big cover-up so you could actually eventually make videos about tea and your favorite teas. Was it all really just a cover-up so you're like, eventually I'll slide in tea. It'll be a tea game.
I think I've been pretty straightforward about that. There was never a cover-up, Dave.
It's a cover-up. You were like, I'm gonna do Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and then when people get to know me and love me, then tea. I'm gonna force tea on them.
Yeah, in addition to other things, and even restaurant reviews. I just uploaded a video a few days ago about making pickles. Like,
It is funny to me that you're one of the people in this community who's expanded out to also the food category, because I don't think there's really anyone else also covering food.
Well, that's something I've wanted to do for a long time, and I guess this maybe gives me another relevant answer to your opening question, which, as far as video games were concerned, I was very inspired by people like Marcus and Rachel and a few of the other truly original Souls community members, but not just by people in the Souls community. I watched a lot of Ego Raptor's stuff early on, back when he was on Newgrounds, and James Rolfe, Doug Walker, those guys, people who've been doing this for a long time. I think I have, apart from the Souls community, I have a fairly standard set of broader influences, just more content creators from whatever walk of interest they happen to hail from. And when it comes to food, I've always been a fan of, first of all, I've always been a fan of travel, but, I was, Julia Child is an influence to me in some of the stuff that, I want to do more cooking videos. I just don't have a kitchen that's anywhere near sufficient for the purpose.
Actually, I think it's nice. I think it gives you more character. I think that's the nice thing, too, is it helps expand out and get you to know the person better. So I actually think that the fact that you do that allows, because everyone has different interests and tastes. It's not like everyone only likes Dark Souls or only likes a game. So it is nice to be like, oh, this is more a well-rounded person. It gives more perspective on who you are.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like there are a lot of content creators, even within the Souls community, whom I would love to see what they would do if they started to make some of that kind of content themselves. Like, I'm probably not the only one. Think about it. Restaurant reviews with Vadi Vidya.
Just so you can stare at his beautiful face and be like, yes, Vadi.
Well, I'm sure there are people who'd appreciate that. Not that I wouldn't, but I'd be curious as to, Vadi reviews a steakhouse in Sydney. I'd watch that.
I would watch that. I think, hey, Vadi, I'm going to send this to you right now, and we want you to do this. That's what we're saying. I know you've been making videos with Bed Bananas and Kraken, but get on those restaurant reviews.
Don't do that. People will be super mad at him if he makes anything that's not related to Souls.
But back to Souls.
Yes, forgive me, boy.
Boy.
This was supposed to be Souls Weekly, wasn't it? What have I done? I've sandbagged
I know you're breaking
everything.
it. Everything's ruined. Everything. I mean, it's canceled. This is canceled. It's over.
You're gonna have to upload this interview separately now.
I am like, no, just Franz General. Franz General. That's what we're going to call it. So, what Souls game is your favorite, and why is it Dark Souls 2?
Dave, you know me well enough to know how to troll me, don't you?
It's funny, because we were talking before the interview and talking about Dark Souls 2 stuff. In my head, I'm like, I can't wait to ask you this question.
You were just looking for an opportunity to shoehorn that in, weren't you? You were looking for a way. One of these days, Dave.
So, is your favorite Souls game Demon Souls just for the nostalgia of it, or is there a different... I guess Soulsborne, including Bloodborne, is there one that's kind of taking your heart since Demon Souls?
No, it's Demon Souls. And I don't really view it as a matter of nostalgia. I mean, yes, I did play Demon Souls before any of the other games. We've established that, but there was just something about the level design... People. Well, yeah, that too. Yeah, all the jank. But actually, you say that, but the jank is a legitimate part of the reason that I enjoyed Demon Souls. Because this is a point which was made by Pat of The Best Friends that I had never thought about until he said this. But it makes perfect sense to me in retrospect, which is that back in the early days of the community, what the community vibe was essentially, yeah, let's figure out together how to break these games, figure out what we can get away with. Hey, check it out, you can get out of bounds by jumping from this spot onto this. Hey, you can skip most of the Shrine of Storm's first area if you jump from this plank and land on a wall and drop down over here. It was that kind of thing.
Yeah. I know it's blasphemy to developers, but I hate the fact that developers can patch and fix games now. Because I find that stuff so fun, that breaking games and watching people figure out how to break games. So it's sad to me that developers now patch it in, like Dark Souls 2.
Well, not just Dark Souls 2,
They fixed the Shrine of Winter's, that shortcut.
They fixed the skip. They fixed the forest skip in Bloodborne. And I mean, to be fair, there are legitimate reasons for that. Bloodborne did not
No legitimate reason.
Well, Bloodborne did not like that sequence break. You could legitimately destroy that game's progression if you use the forest skip in Bloodborne. Yeah, like, I just the jank of Demon Souls. It was part of the charm, and just the number of things that you could do in Demon Souls to skip things. It was only discovered, I think, a couple of years back, that, after defeating the Storm King, you could get into the Storm King boss room and have people invade in the Storm King boss room and do PvP with full-powered Storm Rulers.
Yeah, that's sick. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, you can. There's a bit of a trick to it. You have to invade in a certain spot, and I'll have to go get the details from Peeve. He's the one who taught me how to do it. But he and a bunch of his friends were doing it on one of his streams a while back. It is the coolest thing. Storm Ruler PvP. And, that wasn't discovered until years after the game's, essentially after the game's primary online life.
Oh, yeah, so, way after.
But thanks to that game's jank, it still has secrets it hasn't given up, or that it's only recently given up. So that's one of the things that I really loved about Demon Souls. And then there's just the boss design and the integration of the story. I felt like, with the exception of Dark Souls 1, the story of Demon Souls was told better than any of the other games. And well, I have
I think it's a little more straightforward, too, than the other ones.
To a certain extent it is, but there's also... Demon Souls is where they set the precedent for a lot of that hidden and contextual storytelling.
You know the thing I'll say I like about Demon Souls' story? Now we're interviewing Dave. the thing I like about it, the Demon Souls story is specifically that it was before doing the cycles thing was overdone. Now at this point with every Soulsborne game, I'm like, oh, it's another cycle. It's like, but Demon Souls, it was the first. I'm like, okay, it was cool because it was like the very first time they did it, and it wasn't like
and it
overdone.
was a different cycle in Demon Souls. It wasn't just, oh, King Allant has to light the first flame, you know?
No, I don't know if you realize this, but Demon Souls is part of the whole Dark Souls universe. Come on, Franz. Please.
No, I'm not getting into that. That'll be another hour's worth of... You might as well just turn this into a podcast, Dave. That's what this is going to turn into.
Well, it's supposed to be Dave Trolls Franz for 20 minutes. That's what this is. But let's go a little more broad here. And I guess you've actually done much more for your channel than just Souls games. Like you were talking about the cooking and all that. And, well, not cooking, but restaurant reviews. So, and you've played several other games and done other games and LPs and all that. What would you say is your favorite game you've done a show on?
Oh boy, well,
both that and what do you think was your best LP? So, like, all right, what was your favorite game, and then which one do you think ended up being the best LP?
You know, I feel like I would be doing people a disservice if I just said Demon Souls, but Demon Souls. Well, okay, let me put it this way. My favorite Souls game would be Demon Souls. There are some other games that I really enjoy that I've done LPs for, but to pin down a single one... I mean, Demon Souls is the closest I could get, but I don't... A friend of mine has a saying. He says that it's not good to pigeon soul yourself. And, you know, I don't want to pigeon soul myself here. My favorite LP, I guess, this really all does come back to Souls, because I did an in-depth Let's Play of Demon Souls. Yeah. And that has by far been the most popular and well-received LP I've ever done. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I did a good deal of research for it, which you're familiar with because you do tons of research for your super shows and even for your one-offs of games that you're interested in.
Right.
And I felt that the amount of work and time I put into that was a labor of love, and I think that's really one of my favorite, if not my favorite LPs on my channel so far. I just wish I'd had a better microphone for it, and I wish I had had any clue how to edit my audio back then. It was one of my earlier Let's Plays, and the commentary quality was not great, and I was recording it with, you know, a very rudimentary capture device, and I would redo it if I had the time, but...
Yeah, I have the same issue. One of my favorite Let's Plays I did was on King's Field, the original. It was before I was using a decent mic. So the mic sounds so bad, and I'm like, I like the commentary and everything, but the mic is so bad, and it drives me crazy. But thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you coming on this.
Yeah, thank you for yours. I think I've taken more of your time than you have of mine.
Nah, this has been great and fun, and I'm sure everyone listening really appreciates it, so... I mean, not that you can't get to know Franz anyways by joining his Twitch or YouTube, but for anyone
when they're active,
for anyone who isn't aware of Franz, where can they find you?
Probably at an upscale restaurant drinking tea and maybe enjoying a steak or something like that. But for that just search a German Spy on YouTube or Twitch.
So, all right, I'll be stocking every restaurant for steak and tea that serves both. If they serve both, I'm like, this is a spot. This is a spot. But thank you so much again. I really appreciate it. And we'll chat later. And thank you, everyone, for listening to the interview.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Take care, and thank you, Dave.
Yeah, of course. So that wraps up this first episode of Souls Weekly. Again, a lot of things are going to be getting changed. The structure of the show maybe, the title of the show maybe, a lot of things. But I want to see, what do you guys think? What did you like about the show? What did you dislike? Would you like to see it again in general? Please do let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Later, guys. Peace.